First contact in the void. The crystalline displays of observation post-Zenith 7 flickered with warning signals as High Observer Xylith's iridescent scales shifted from their usual calm azure to a disturbed amber. Something impossible was happening in the Obsidian Belt, that vast stretch of space where even the most advanced ships feared to traverse. "Run the diagnostics again," Xylith commanded, all four arms working frantically across the holographic controls. The massive observation window before them showed the infamous expanse of space that had claimed countless lives, a region where microscopic shards of dark matter combined with lethal radiation to create an impenetrable natural barrier. The station's AI responded with its characteristic precision. Diagnostics complete. High Observer. All systems functioning within normal parameters. Unknown vessel continues to approach the Obsidian Belt at standard cruising speed. Xylith's scales rippled with disbelief. In their 15 cycles as High Observer of the Zeraxian Empire's most advanced observation post, they had witnessed 17 attempted crossings of the Obsidian Belt. Each had ended in tragedy, with even the most advanced shielding technology failing against the belt's lethal combination of dark matter shards and cosmic radiation. "Attention unknown vessel," Xylith broadcast on all frequencies. "You are approaching a Class Omega hazard zone. Immediate course correction is required." Repeat. "Immediate course correction is required." The response came through with surprising clarity. Observation Post Zenith 7. "This is Lieutenant James Foster of the Earth vessel Starweaver. Appreciated heads up. But we're good. Just need to make a routine crossing." The words "routine crossing" caused such shock that Xylith's secondary heart temporarily ceased functioning. The observation deck's doors hissed open as Chief Scientist Rylax entered, their crystalline form catching the light from the nearby star cluster. "High Observer," Rylax's harmonic voice resonated through the chamber. "Our sensors detect no shield signature from the approaching vessel. This is unprecedented." "Impossible," Xylith corrected. "This is impossible. The background radiation alone should have liquefied their navigation systems by now." The human vessel, the Starweaver, was now visible through the observation window, a sleek but unremarkable ship that looked almost primitive compared to Zeraxian standards. It showed no signs of the expected energy shields or particle dispersal systems that even their most advanced ships required just to approach the belt's outer boundary. "Lieutenant Foster," Xylith tried again, their scales now cycling through warning patterns. "Our sensors indicate your vessel lacks standard protection protocols. The Obsidian Belt's radiation levels exceed 50,000 rem. The dark matter density is at 1,200 particles per cubic meter. No known species can survive such conditions." "Oh, that's why it's so sparkly out there." Foster's voice came back, sounding almost amused. "Thanks for the data. Hey, quick question. Would you folks mind if I made a brief stop? Got a slight rattle in the port thruster I should probably check out." The entire observation deck crew froze in horror as the Starweaver began decelerating. Chief Scientist Rylax's crystalline form developed stress fractures as they processed what they were witnessing. They're actually stopping. In the belt. Before anyone could respond, Foster's voice returned. "Don't mind me, just going to pop outside for a quick repair. Shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. Outside. Xylith's scales blanched pure white. "Lieutenant Foster, if you exit your vessel in these conditions, the dark matter particles will." "Will what now?" The human's voice carried genuine curiosity. "Oh, you mean these little sparkly bits? They're kind of pretty up close, aren't they? Like space diamonds." The observation deck's instruments began shorting out one by one as they attempted to process the impossible readings. Through the window, the crew watched in stunned silence as a figure in what appeared to be a simple pressure suit emerged from the Starweaver, protected by nothing more than basic magnetic tethers. "Fascinating," Rylax whispered, their crystalline form vibrating with scientific excitement. "The dark matter particles, they're not penetrating the suit's material. They're deflecting." That's not possible. The energy requirements alone would. Getting some interesting readings from your station, Foster interrupted, now casually walking along his ship's hull while carrying what appeared to be primitive repair tools. Your shield harmonics seem a bit off. Want me to take a look at that while I'm out here? Might help with your energy efficiency. Xylith's scales had run out of colors to express their emotional state. The human was not only surviving in conditions that should have destroyed them instantly, but was offering technical advice to one of the most advanced observation posts in known space. As the crew watched in speechless wonder, Foster began humming what appeared to be a tune while working on his ship's thruster, completely unconcerned with the fact that he was casually rewriting everything the galaxy's most advanced civilizations thought they knew about physics and biology. The Obsidian Belt, terror of 1,000 species, killer of countless brave explorers, was being treated by this human as nothing more significant than a mildly interesting backdrop for routine maintenance. Xylith turned to Chief Scientist Rylax, their voice barely a whisper. Contact the High Council immediately. The galaxy needs to know about this. Everything we thought we knew about impossibility, it just changed. The walking paradox. The observation deck of Zenith 7 had transformed into a circus of scientific activity. Dozens of the galaxy's most prominent researchers had arrived through emergency quantum tunnels, their various environmental suits and protective gear creating a kaleidoscope of colors against the station's pristine walls. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Foster continued his repairs, occasionally pausing to wave at the growing crowd of observers. Their instruments smoked, sparked, and in one case, completely disassembled itself rather than try to process the readings from his suit. Impossible, muttered Dr. Vix, a leading expert in xenobiology from the Centaurian Collective. Their gelatinous form rippled with agitation as they reviewed the data. The human cellular structure should be breaking down at the molecular level. The radiation alone is quite refreshing, actually. Foster's cheerful voice interrupted over the comm. Reminds me of the hot springs back home. Though I could use a coffee break soon. You folks wouldn't happen to have any caffeine equivalents aboard, would you? Chief Scientist Rylax's crystalline form developed new stress patterns as they processed this casual request. Lieutenant Foster, are you suggesting you intend to dock with our station after exposure to these conditions? Well, sure, if that's all right, Foster replied, now apparently doing something that looked suspiciously like routine maintenance on his ship's communications array. Don't worry, I'll run through decontamination protocols first. Though honestly, I'm reading higher radiation levels from your shield harmonics than from out here. The assembled scientists erupted in a cacophony of different languages and harmonic frequencies. High Observer Xylith's scales had settled into a permanent state of shocked white. What exactly are humans? Whispered a Medusan researcher, their tentacles twisted in complex patterns of confusion. No one had an answer, but they were beginning to suspect they needed to find out. Fast, breaking understanding. The emergency session of the Galactic Scientific Council was the most well-attended in recorded history. Representatives from over 300 species crowded the massive quantum-linked chamber, all focused on the video feed from Zenith 7. This changes everything, announced Grand Theorist Zix of the Proximan Academy. If humans can survive conditions we considered universally lethal, what else are they capable of? The feed showed Foster, now inside Zenith 7's main recreation area, casually sipping something that approximated coffee while chatting with various scientists. He had passed through decontamination protocols that would have sterilized most known life forms, apparently finding them a bit warm, but refreshing. The implications are disturbing, noted Ambassador Krell of the Draconian Imperium, their scaled form shifting nervously. A species that considers lethal environments refreshing could be a significant threat, or an unprecedented opportunity, countered Representative Lyra of the Pleiadian Consortium. Think of the possibilities for exploration, research, rescue operations in extreme conditions. The debate raged on, but one fact was becoming increasingly clear. Humanity could no longer be classified as a minor species from an unremarkable solar system. Hidden strengths. The warning came without preamble. A quantum surge in the nearby star cluster threatened to overwhelm Zenith 7's already strained shield systems. Evacuation protocols initiated, announced the station's eye. Shield failure imminent. All personnel proceed to emergency transport pods. But Foster was already moving. "Your shield harmonics are fighting against the surge," he said, pulling up a holographic display. "You're trying to block it completely. What if we tried riding it instead?" Riding? A quantum surge. Syleth's scales flickered between disbelief and desperate hope. "Sure," Foster replied, fingers dancing across the control panel. "It's like surfing. Sometimes you've got to work with the wave instead of against it." What followed was a masterclass in improvisation as Foster helped reconfigure the station's shields, using principles that seemingly violated several laws of physics. The quantum surge washed over them like a gentle breeze instead of the devastating force it should have been. "How?" demanded Chief Scientist Rylax. "How did you know this would work?" Foster shrugged. "Honestly, reminded me of trying to stay upright on a subway car during rush hour back in New York. Sometimes you've got to flow with the chaos." A new dawn. The official recognition of Earth as a major galactic power was unprecedented in its speed and unanimity. The footage from Zenith 7 had spread across the quantum net, showing species throughout the galaxy that everything they thought they knew about physical limitations needed to be reconsidered. Lieutenant James Foster had become an unwitting celebrity, though he seemed more interested in helping upgrade various stations' shield systems than attending diplomatic functions. His casual disregard for what other species considered certain death had sparked a revolution in scientific thinking. "We were so focused on overcoming environmental challenges," Syleth explained to the Galactic Council, their scales now a peaceful blue of understanding, "that we never considered simply adapting to them. Humans don't survive extreme conditions because they're invulnerable. They survive because they're infinitely adaptable." Research partnerships with Earth were established across multiple fields. Human consultants were suddenly in high demand for previously impossible engineering projects. The Obsidian Belt, once a barrier to travel, became a popular route for human-guided ships. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, Lieutenant Foster continued his patrol route, occasionally stopping to help stranded ships or upgrade outdated shield systems, completely unaware that he had fundamentally changed the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. The only unusual request he made was that every station he visited should stock real coffee. Some things, apparently, were universal constants. Lessons from Earth. The prestigious halls of the Galactic Academy of Sciences had never seen anything quite like Professor Xyleth's lecture series, Understanding Humanity. A new paradigm. The former High Observer of Zenith 7 had become the galaxy's leading expert on human psychology and adaptability, though they would be the first to admit how little anyone truly understood. The most remarkable discovery, Syleth explained to the packed auditorium, their scales shifting through scholarly shades of blue and green, wasn't Lieutenant Foster's ability to survive in the Obsidian Belt. It was learning why humans like him consider such adaptation normal. The holographic display behind them showed various scenes from Earth, children playing in snow, deep-sea divers exploring ocean trenches, researchers working in volcanic regions, and astronauts floating in space. Humanity evolved on a planet of extremes. Syleth continued, bringing up new data streams. Their world experiences temperature variations that would kill most species. Their oceans contain pressures that would crush our strongest vessels. Their atmosphere occasionally throws devastating storms that would level our cities, and yet they not only survived, they thrived. Chief Scientist Rylax, now heading the newly established Human Studies Division, added their own observations. Their crystalline form had developed new patterns specifically for processing human-related data. What we considered impossible, Rylax's harmonic voice resonated through the chamber, humans saw as Tuesday. When Lieutenant Foster repaired his ship in the Obsidian Belt, he wasn't being brave or reckless. He was simply doing what humans have always done, adapting to their environment instead of fighting against it. The lecture was interrupted by an urgent message from the Galactic Council. A quantum anomaly had been detected near the Carina Nebula, threatening several major trade routes. The assembled scientists watched in amazement as the response team's manifest appeared on screen. It was primarily composed of human engineers and consultants. Notice, Syleth pointed out, their scales showing pride in their former student species. They're not sending their most advanced ships or strongest weapons. They're sending humans with tool belts and, as they call it, duct tape. The audience chittered and hummed with amusement, but there was respect underlying the laughter. They had learned that human ingenuity, combined with their bizarre adaptability, often produced better results than the most advanced technology. But perhaps the most important lesson, Syleth concluded, bringing up one final image, a group of human children building a snowman while wearing what their species considered light winter clothing, is that humans don't just survive in extreme conditions. They find joy in them. They play in their world's harshest environments. They seek out challenges not because they must, but because they can. As if to punctuate this point, the latest report from the Carina Nebula response team came through. The human engineers had not only stabilized the quantum anomaly, but had somehow managed to convert it into a new type of renewable energy source. Their chief engineer's only comment was that it seemed like a waste to just close it up. The lecture hall erupted in excited discussion. Student species from across the galaxy debated the implications of human adaptability. Some were already proposing joint research projects, while others were requesting human consultants for problems their own species had long considered unsolvable. Syleth's scales shifted to a contemplative purple as they watched the excitement unfold. The galaxy had feared humanity might become a threat when they discovered their extraordinary capabilities. Instead, humans had become something far more valuable. Teachers, showing the galaxy's oldest civilizations how to look at the universe with new eyes. As the session concluded, a young Medusan student raised their tentacles. "Professor, given everything we've learned about humans, what do you think they'll do next?" Syleth's scales rippled with amusement. That young one is perhaps the most exciting question in the galaxy. Because if there's one thing we've learned about humans, it's that they don't just adapt to the impossible. They'd redefine it. And they do it with a smile and a cup of coffee in hand. The hall filled with appreciative laughter, but there was a note of anticipation in it. The galaxy had changed since that first encounter at Zenith 7, and everyone knew this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, Lieutenant Foster and countless other humans were going about their daily routines, casually accomplishing the impossible and probably not even noticing. And that, perhaps, was the most human thing of all.